This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
Welcome back to Dateless and Delray, where we explore modern love, relationships, and dating after 50 with leading relationship experts, best-selling authors, psychologists, matchmakers, and fascinating guests with extraordinary stories. I'm your host, Susan Heller-Shore. 34 years ago, one relationship book changed the way millions of people talk about love. It gave us a very familiar and simple metaphor that is part of everyday language. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. The book spent years on the New York Times bestseller list. More than 15 million copies were published in 45 languages across 100 countries, and USA Today named it one of the 10 most influential books of the last century. More than 3 decades later, John Gray has revisited and expanded the Mars and Venus conversation for a new generation. He has come out with a new book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, for Women Only. I love that subtitle. So what's changed in the 30 plus years since John wrote the book? Well, we're very fortunate to have John Gray with us today on Dateless and Delray. He now heads up MarsVenus.com. He partners with his daughter, who we'll hear more about later. And I'm very honored to have you on Dateless and Delray, John Gray.
Susan, thank you so much. I'm happy to be with you as well. It's fun.
Great. So take us back to the 1990s, a decade I remember well. Was married for 10 years at the time. After 37 years, I exited that marriage. But at the time, remember reading the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Did you ever imagine the impact it would have, and how did you come to write it?
Well, I'd been teaching those ideas all the way through the 80s. So they really started in the 80s. And I remember there was actually a TV series my wife and I were watching called The 30-somethings.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
And all their problems were like the same problems we were dealing with. And the same thing as a counselor, it was the same thing men and women were dealing with. It was literally like women's complaints could be the same complaints my wife has about me. Right. And what I learned is that when I was listening to their complaints, and it wasn't about me because they were complaining about their husbands, I could hear it with compassion. And so then it wasn't defensive. You see, when you complain to your spouse, they're going to get defensive. But because I was hearing these complaints again and again, literally, it was like the same ones. I was in one session, I remember, it was kind of a turning point for me, where a woman said, about 4 women that day had said, the only time my husband touches me is when he wants sex. And as a man, I'm thinking, what's wrong with that?
Of course. Makes sense.
But, I will say, well, tell me more, help me understand that better, doing my counseling thing. And then that night, I remember going up into the kitchen. I used to be in a basement kind of a place in those days. And I went to give my wife a hug, and she stopped and she said, the only time you touch me is when you want sex. So it was like, became so clear to me that there's so many universal complaints that women would have that no man would. I mean, I never heard a man say the only time you touch me is when you want sex. Yeah. Okay. So it was like such an obvious difference. And another one was many times in counseling, if I had the man and the woman together, the woman would be complaining about something, sharing some upset feelings about the relationship, about him. And he would always look the other way. That's what men do, is they look away. There's a lot of reasons for that, but the woman in that moment, she goes, see, he doesn't care about me. He's not even looking at me. And as a man, I immediately knew he's not looking at you, one, because you're disapproving of him, and that's eye contact. He has no defense against eye contact.
Right.
But 2, he turns away to think about what you're saying. And is it true? Or what should he do about it? Is it important? Is it not important? He's analyzing everything you just said, not because he doesn't care. If he didn't care, he would actually just look at you like you're so stupid. Okay. But he's literally taking the time to look away. She did not intuitively understand that because when women care, they look you right in the eyes and they'll look at you. And two
Yep.
women will go back and forth. They're not going to like look away. Another woman would say, "Why are you looking over there?" It's like I'd see it even with my daughters. They'll be talking sometimes, and I'll like go like this and say, "Oh, what are you thinking about now?"
Right, right. Look at me when I talk to you. Yeah, that's so interesting because you're right. It's just a complete misperception of a body language or yeah. So
Body language, attitude, words. That's
mm,
what I started looking at all these different words and expressions that we just don't understand. And if we don't understand something, we tend to go to the negative if we're feeling a little stressed. And
right,
if we don't understand something, we will tend to go to it's a little stress. Now, as I've evolved this message, there's all this science that comes along with it that enriched my understanding and explained the ideas that I talked about in those books. I've got a bunch of books behind me on all about gender intelligence, gender differences, dating, marriage, bedroom, parenting, personal growth. I look at everything through the filter of what's good for men, what's good for women. Just like if you went to a doctor, you wouldn't go to a doctor who specializes in men if you're a woman.
right, right.
We know in science that biologically we're different. So now we have all this knowledge about biology. That's one thing, which is I have now science backing up all those original ideas, which were observations. But the second thing is that men and women have changed. Okay. So biologically, we are the same, but our circumstances in the world, that's called epigenetics, will change us. As women start becoming more independent, which has happened over these years since I wrote the book, and at the time when I was teaching these ideas
Right.
45 years ago, women were becoming more independent and less dependent on men. Well,
Yep.
that dramatically changes everything. It just changes her hormones, changes her mood, changes what she needs from a man. If you don't need a man's money as much because you can be more independent, even if you're dependent on a man, the fact that you could be independent because of your education or whatever completely changes the dynamics of what do you need from a man. So a lot of my work is explaining to women once they have a certain level of independence, in order to find hormonal balance and lower their stress and feel good, they have a different emotional need. And the need is a man who can help her come back to producing more female hormones because when she's more independent, she's actually making more male hormones. And when a woman makes more male hormones and doesn't make the right amount of female hormones, always she will be unhappy, empty, stressed. And these are symptoms that you can measure. It's all very measurable now.
Wow, that's fascinating that circumstances can change your hormones literally like that. Was this research that like just a scientist did and you sort of picked up on, or did you discover this on your
Well,
own?
they don't know anything about relationships. People who do studies,
Right.
they're all in their heads. They don't understand relationship skills. I'll say, generally speaking, there could be exceptions.
Sure.
No, what I do, I spent my 50 years, understanding how men and women think differently, react differently, have different emotional needs, put them in one situation. She might need this, he might need this. And so when you don't understand, then there's misinterpretation, and then misinterpretation makes a relationship worse. Okay. So
Mm,
so having said that, what I have is the perception of this. I'm dealing with these problems all the time. But what I do is I have my own theories, which are my books, and then I go and look at what helps to explain this theory. Let me give you one example. I think this was the first time I was starting to look at some science on all this. And it was there's one idea of this very popular in Men Are From Mars, and it's also applies to dating, applies to marriage, whatever. Is that there's a balance of testosterone and estrogen that's different in men and women.
right.
Whenever a man is stressed, cortisol, what happens is a man's testosterone is too low and his estrogen is too high. That's a stress response. That's why we call it fight or flight,
Right.
is one of the reactions to cortisol. Now, fight or flight only occurs in men when their testosterone is low and their estrogen is high.
Ah,
Now, that's the opposite of what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks, oh, when men have high testosterone, they're going to be angry and they're mean and they're tough and they want to
right.
fight. No, it's only when testosterone goes down in men that causes the cortisol levels to go up. And if his cortisol goes up, his emotions, his negative emotions will begin to increase. Now,
Wow.
the opposite is true for women. When they are experiencing cortisol, what occurs is her estrogen levels are going below normal levels and her testosterone's going high. So whenever a woman is experiencing stress, her testosterone's going up, which is her male side, and her
Mhm.
estrogen is going down. And why do we call that? Which was, I think, my first revelation when I got into the science was a wonderful book about stress, why zebras have no stress.
Mm.
Dr. Sapolsky wrote that book from Stanford University. And he had, I mean, this is a long time ago, but he had the breakthrough realization in his studies that testosterone was not responsible for violence in men, but it
Okay.
was a low testosterone. And when I read that, I went, yes, yes. And so I went and looked and I saw that when men are not stressed, their
Right.
testosterone is 10 times higher than a woman's. And then when a woman is stressed, her estrogen uh, is, I'm sorry, let me repeat this. When a man is feeling good and not stressed, his testosterone will be 10 times higher than a woman's.
Okay.
And when a woman is not stressed, her estrogen will be 10 times higher than a man's.
What?
So you look at this juxtapose, we're like a mirror image of each other. And then suddenly that makes everything I say make sense
Yeah.
because all of my techniques that I teach men to do for women are all the types of behaviors that stimulate estrogen. And all of the behaviors that I explain about men and how women can understand men and interpret men are behaviors that help men raise their testosterone.
So
So, like
it's
one of the ideas that became worldwide famous now is men go to their cave. You know, we have men going to their cave. Okay. It's like where you have your TV set, or
oh,
you
the
have your
man cave.
computer, or you
Yes.
got your
Yeah.
ping pong table, or you got pool table, whatever it is,
Sure.
hobbies.
Yeah.
The whole idea of Men Are From Mars is that the way men cope with stress is that they're solving problems during the day. And to the extent that they can solve problems and feel successful, they'll feel stress free. But even that, raising your testosterone, solving problems will deplete you of testosterone so that now you need to rebuild your testosterone. Now, I had that
Uh,
first revelation is that back this, nobody was talking about this back in the 80s, early
No.
80s. And this is before the internet. And I was looking at men and women and I looked at muscle magazines. And it was bizarre to me is that you got all these strong, muscular guys, right? And they always have libido pills.
Right.
Libido pills. I'm going, why do I need libido pills? I'm still 74 years old. I do not need libido pills. And mine have only gone up as I've grown older. That's typically
Good for
not the
you.
same thing. And particularly for muscle guys, they typically will have the lowest testosterone. Now, why
Oh,
would that be?
why
That
would
was a
that
big
be?
question. Well, once again, it takes more testosterone. You use up testosterone to make those muscles. The right amount of exercise will help you recover testosterone. You use it up, and then your body, in a reaction to it, will rebuild while you're sleeping. So the whole thing in muscle world is if you overtrain, your testosterone levels will go low. If you do the right amount of training for your body type, then that will be one of the things that helps sustain healthy testosterone. You'll lose it and you'll rebuild it. But if you lose too much, then you don't rebuild it. And that's from overtraining. So this was
So
all some of the
interesting.
earlier things. And then it was going along with my awarenesses. And but I learned about testosterone, estrogen. Then I learned, and this isn't everything, but this is one time I remember sitting in the bathroom trying to think of what's the scientific reason to explain why I was in the bathtub. I do a lot of thinking in the bathtub in those days. And it'd be my cave, it's my cave. Nobody's going to interrupt me. I'm thinking,
Perfect. Makes
this is
sense. Yeah.
alone time. So when I'm doing that, uh, somebody asked me, well, why is it that men are like rubber bands? Because that's one of the ideas of Men Are From Mars.